All right, so here we are. We got those two bolts out. Here they are. So both of them. And then realistically, your whole caliper should just slide right off, right? So then what you're gonna do is you're gonna make sure, don't damage this hose right here because that's extremely important. You're gonna set it back somewhere where it's not gonna fall. And then we're gonna come up to the front here. And so I was thinking that the hub was actually connected to the rotor, but in this it's not. The only reason I say that is because I've worked on a lot more quads than I have cars, and in most cases with the quad, that's how it works. So all you have to do really is you'd put your two bolts in those two little holes. Let's see if we can get that for you. So that hole and that hole, right? So once you get your bolts in there, you should be able to push those in with ratchet and whatever sized end the bolt is, and then it should come right off. Or in this case, it was basically already falling off, so we just pull it off. So this is your brake rotor, right? So what happens is your brake pads run right here on the edges, right? And so you run these for however many thousand miles, they start to create an edge on the metal. So then you have to do what's called turning your rotor. So what that does is they come in here with a milling machine and they take material off all the way around. And what that does is it creates a space for your brake pads to sit on your rotor that are smooth and new, which ultimately leads to your brake pads lasting longer. So they do the same thing on the back. You can see that one a little bit better. It's right there. My finger obviously hits a lip right there and then pops up. So I'm gonna take these in and have these machined. It doesn't cost that much. Most times they will tell you if they can be machined or not. So basically all that depends on is how many times they've been machined before, because this thickness here has to be so thick in order to be able to dissipate heat while not bending. So what happens is when metal heats up and then it cools down over time, that'll create a warp. So it'll start to have a little zigzag in it. And that means that your brakes won't grab evenly as they spin. So you want to make sure that they say that they can be turned, you have them turn them, and then you bring them back. So now that we have that, I'm gonna set this over here. We're gonna come back to our brake pads. So carefully grab your caliper, pull it out here, and then you should be able to kind of just push them out. So there's number one. I'm going to set that down over here. We're going to pop this one out as well. And I will twist it in here. All right. And there's number two. So these brake pads look okay. So if you can see there, this raised part on the top, that's your actual pad, and then this is just the part where your pistons push in. So these on my car are 2 piston calipers, which means that there are 2 cylinders that push up against it, right? So there's cars that have 3, and there's also cars that have 4. So I'm going to set this back here. Basically what happens is over time, this pad will wear down, and as it wears down, your brakes become harder, well, not harder, but they grab less and less the farther and farther you push in, right? So basically you want to make sure that these are replaced. There's places like AutoZone. AutoZone does free brake checks. You just go in there and you tell them that your brakes, they're making some kind of a noise. You want to have them looked at. What they'll do is they'll go in and they will look at your brake pads and they'll tell you how much life they have left. So these ones are actually fairly good. These are at about, I would say, 80% of their life. So, and I am actually going to be replacing these with aftermarket ones that are better at dissipating heat and will last longer, but they also have a longer warranty. So the ones I'm buying, I will be going to get here shortly, and those are Duralast gold brake pads, and they are ceramic. So the ceramic is really good at dissipating heat, and so that's one important thing when you talk about the lifetime of your brakes, is you want something that's going to dissipate heat well and have a long braking time. So that means that they're gonna be able to brake the same for the whole life of the pad until they're almost gone. So that's what you want. You don't want a pad that at 50% of its life is going to be braking at 50% of what it would at 100%. You want it to always be braking at 100% until the very end, which is better for your safety and better on the car, because that would lead to, things like more heat, and then you would get more brake dust, which, it's not really too big of a deal, but your car would end up way dirtier. Your wheels would end up way dirtier. So you just want something that's going to last a long time, and that's what I'm going to be getting.